This is part 2 of some predictions and visions I was seeing in 2025. They mainly relate to Australia, and hopefully there's a lot more positive ones in this lot than part 1. I had a vision of quite a few people being freed from places that they have been held prisoner for quite some time, and this felt to be connected to some African areas or in the African country. I've seen this before and it's coming up again. It's around people that are studying the neurological system, the nervous system, and it feels like there's a lot more information going to be coming out around Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, motor neuron disease, any kind of those diseases connected to the nervous system. I see this one particular study, it's finding an answer, and I can see scientists being excited to have found the root cause, which then helps find ways in which to cure or reverse this damage. I've also mentioned this before in the past, and then again it is coming up, which is using machinery to create 3D body organs. So already we have knee replacements and shoulder replacements, and the esophagus I think can be replaced with a 3D part, but it seems they're going to be able to create more organs, man-made organs, rather than having to rely on transplants from the deceased. There's a lot more 3D creations happening for body parts and body organs. As there was an overhaul of supermarkets and price gauging, there is an overhaul of the whole real estate industry coming. Agents themselves being accountable for pricing homes for sale 10 times more than what they were worth 10 years ago. I see someone doing a study on the cost of materials to build a home or replace one. That is the value of it. And so the pricing will need to be close to the value of replacement. If a home can be rebuilt for $500,000, it can't be advertised to be sold for $800,000. If it is, there is a huge tax on that difference. Sometimes I see things people will say, that will never happen. But there is definitely something coming with an overhaul of the real estate industry and the way in which pricing is being put onto properties. Again, I've said this before, those who own investment properties, more than one, will be selling because they can't afford to actually keep them. Those with holiday homes who don't use them at least twice a year will be taxed higher. Those who own homes in Australia but they live overseas will be taxed highly for those not using the homes and having them empty most of the year. It feels that council rates will be different for someone who lives in the house all the time compared to someone who doesn't, or who uses it for Airbnb or holiday and or has it sitting empty. The rates will be lower for those who live in their own house permanently. Also have seen a lot more social housing being built in affordable rental properties in Australia, and cryptocurrency and XRP will hit a peak this year. Sort of feel like there's a lot of energy around money around March, and there's still stock market crashes coming, but a rise in crypto. There is a lot of energy around the word insurance. There may be a new system created, much like Medicare, where we pay toward insurance which is controlled by the government and returned to those who suffer a disaster, rather than private insurance companies. Or there is an investigation into insurance and it's changed from what it was. People feel to have trouble getting insurance for areas that are in places that have natural disasters happen. So there is something new created to still help those people if need be. I just hear insurance being a hot topic this year. A male singer in Australia makes a great comeback from being out of the spotlight for a while, and people are very happy for him. This was a really interesting vision that was showing up. An extremely important document is found to have been forged. And this is like an historical document, so it leaves everyone confused as to what is supposed to be happening now. Does it still stand as true if the original document was forged? I can see news around the Australian Ballet Company, and it's exciting news. Feels like they're talking about something. Someone is representing the Australian Ballet Company and they're talking about this wonderful news that they have. I remember in a meditation in 2015, where I was shown how unbalanced the world was because they're having too much and not having enough. And I was told the world would be brought back into balance. Greed will equal karma. If someone has more than enough and they share it, nothing will happen to them. If someone has more than enough and they keep it for themselves, wanting more and more, they will suffer the fate of their karma. It will be taken from them, or they will lose what they feel is valuable to them in ways they never saw coming. I feel Princess Catherine will get the all clear with her health and cancer battle. I also feel that those mediums who were saying that they were connected to Princess Catherine's soul and that she had died last year when she was out of the public eye for a while, they are going to be exposing themselves more and more as fake. People will stop following them when they realise they are making things up. There feels to be positive changes for people who work in the health industry, such as nurses getting a pay rise, doctors being able to bulk bill, medicines being cheaper, or some medicines that were out of reach or too expensive being available at a cheaper rate. A lot of positive changes around medical. Not so much around education though, it feels to be left out a bit this year. I see a new government who is putting more emphasis on small business, and it's either less tax or benefits with deductions or a once-off payment to get things back on track. You know, when GST came in and businesses got money to buy equipment to help with the changes with GST, there feels to be a payment that is a once-off to help businesses. There is some kind of company or a business that starts with yellow that will fold and catch people out of the blue. The CEO or owner wants to reimburse those who have lost money in this, but there won't be enough money to reimburse. Even though it sounds like bad news for some, it seems to be an advantage to others. A very large lotto draw will be won by 10 people rather than one person taking the entire amount. 10 people will share it. It feels like it's around 120 million, so they would get 12 million each. Thank you for listening. I'm available for private readings. I do them all via email, so I can have anyone anywhere in the world. You don't need to book a time. As soon as they come in, I do them in order they come in, so they're usually returned within 1 to 3 days. And all I need is a photo of you and a bit of information, and that's how it's done.